Grace Hartwell's youngest started crying the moment the gavel hit wood. Not Lily, the baby, was too small to understand. It was Maggie, 5 years old, who knew exactly what was happening. Her mother was being sold. They all were. "Quiet that child," the auctioneer barked. Grace pulled Maggie close. Her hands didn't shake. Couldn't afford to shake. Not with Tommy watching, waiting to see if his mother would break. Then boots hit the platform. Heavy. A voice cut through the noise. "How much for all 6? The crowd went silent. Subscribe now. Drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. Stay till the end. You won't regret it. The sun beat Laramie's town square without mercy. Grace's knees locked. Her dress clung to her back, sweat and dust and shame mixed together. "Folks, you know why we're here." Chester Boone, the auctioneer, wiped his neck with a rag. "Mordecai Hartwell's got legal claim, $500 debt. Law says nothing about selling people." Someone shouted from the back. Chester ignored it. "Do I hear $10? Grace's stomach turned. $10. That's what her family was worth. Tommy pressed against her right side, 13 years old, trying to stand tall. His father's build, his father's jaw, his father's grave 6 months cold. Sarah gripped her left hand. 10-year-old journal clutched under her arm. The girl wrote everything down. Grace didn't want to know what she'd write about today. Benny, 7, stood between them, eyes fixed on the man at the edge of the platform. Mordecai Hartwell. Uncle by marriage, Judas by choice. Maggie buried her face in Grace's skirt, shoulders heaving. And Lily, 18 months old, balanced on Grace's hip. Too heavy. Grace's arms ached. Everything ached. $5, a voice called. Laughter rolled through the crowd. Not kind laughter, the kind that stuck to your skin. Grace lifted her chin. She'd learned something in her father's Philadelphia office back when life made sense. Dignity was a choice. They could take everything else. "Come now," Chester said. "Educated woman. Can read, write cipher numbers." "Then she's overqualified for washing floors," Martha Penrose called out. Grace found Martha's face in the crowd. Last winter, Martha's daughter had been dying. Fever that wouldn't break. Grace had sat up 3 nights using every remedy her father taught her. The girl lived. This was her thanks. "Mama." Maggie's whisper cut deeper than the laughter. "Make them stop." "Can't, baby." "Why not?" "Because the law said women were property. Because her husband's brother had forged debt papers. Because Wyoming Territory in 1878 didn't care about widows with 5 children and no money." Grace didn't say any of that, just held tighter. $10. Samuel Wright, the boarding house owner. He needed kitchen help. Grace knew what that meant, 18-hour days, children working too. Chester perked up. "Now we're moving. Do I hear 15? Silence. The entertainment was wearing thin. Mordecai pushed forward. 45 years old, belly straining his Sunday coat. "This is taking too long, Chester." "Patience pays Mordecai." $20. The voice came from Mordecai's left, his wife Prudence, thin as wire face pinched under her bonnet. $20. For the baby. Grace's arms tightened around Lily. "No." Prudence stepped closer, her hands twisted together. "Be reasonable. You can't feed 5. Give me Lily. I'll raise her right. Good home. Full belly." "She has a home." "You call this a home?" Prudence's voice cracked. Something genuine flickered across her face, pain raw and deep. 20 years married, no children. Everyone knew. No one mentioned it. For half a second, Grace almost pitied her. Then Prudence reached for Lily. Tommy moved fast, stepping between them. "Don't touch her." "Boy," Mordecai started. "I said don't." The crowd murmured. Chester banged his gavel. "Order. We'll have order." Mordecai's face went red. "The boy's got spirit. Maybe I should bid on him separate. Could use someone at the store." Tommy's fists clenched. Grace grabbed his shoulder. "No." "But Mama." "No." She looked at Mordecai. met his eyes. We stay together or not at all. That's not your choice anymore, Mordecai said. $30 for the lot. Samuel right again. Final offer. Chester raised his gavel. Any advance on 30 going once. $100. The voice came from the back, low, rough as creek gravel. Heads turned. A man stepped through the crowd and Grace's breath caught. Tall, 6'3", maybe more. Shoulders broad enough to block the sun. Brown hat shadowed his face, but she saw the scar-pale line from eyebrow to cheek. He moved with a limp right leg stiff, but it didn't slow him. Caleb Stone. She'd seen him once months ago. Mordecai had called him touched since the war. Town kept its distance. Caleb stopped at the platform base, looked up at Chester. 100. Cash. The square went quiet. Even the dogs stopped barking. Chester recovered first. Mr. Stone, that's generous, but wasn't being generous. Mordecai shoved forward. This is family business. Caleb's gaze shifted. Gray eyes cold as January. Family don't sell family. I'm settling a legal debt. Debts between men. Caleb's voice didn't rise. Didn't need to. Not women. Not children. The law says. Know what the law says. Caleb pulled a leather pouch from his coat, set it on the platform edge. Coins clinked. $100. Twice your brother's debt. Even if the debt was real. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mordecai's face went purple. You calling me a liar? Calling your arithmetic poor. Someone laughed. Mordecai whirled, but couldn't find who. Chester licked his lips, looked at the pouch, looked at Mordecai. Profit 1. 100 is the bid. Any advance. Silence. Going once. Grace's heart hammered. This stranger, this scarred, limping stranger was buying them, saving them, owning them. Which was it going twice? Tommy's hand found hers. Sarah pressed close. Benny held his breath. The gavel came down. Sold to Mr. Caleb Stone. Caleb climbed the steps slow. His right leg dragged just slightly. Up close, Grace saw more silver, threading his dark hairlines carved deep around his eyes. Mid-30s, maybe. Hard to tell with men who'd lived hard. He stopped 3 feet away, respectful distance. Ma'am? He touched his hat brim. My wagon's out front, if you and the children would come with me. Grace's voice stuck in her throat. She nodded. Mordecai grabbed Caleb's arm. This ain't over. That debt... Caleb looked down at Mordecai's hand on his sleeve. Said nothing. Just looked. Mordecai let go. You want your money? Caleb's voice dropped lower. Come to Stone Creek tomorrow. I'll pay you. He paused. Then you'll leave these folks alone. Permanent. Something in his tone made Mordecai step back. Prudence pushed forward, reaching for Lily. At least let me... Grace turned, shielding the baby. No. Prudence's face crumpled. Real pain, not performance. Her hands dropped. I just wanted... I can't... She didn't finish. Turned away, shoulders shaking. Grace's chest tightened. She knew that pain, the wanting. But Lily was hers. Caleb descended the steps, turned, held up his arms. Children first. Tommy stiffened. I can manage myself. Didn't say you couldn't. The phrase hung there. Not a challenge. Just fact. Tommy hesitated, jumped down, landed hard, stumbled. Caleb's hand shot out, steadying him. Tommy jerked away but mumbled, thanks. Caleb nodded. Sarah climbed down, careful journal tucked tight. Benny followed, then Maggie. Grace stood alone with Lily. The crowd was dispersing. The show was over. Whispers would spread. By sundown, every house in Laramie would know the widow Hartwell had been bought by crazy Caleb Stone. Caleb raised his arms again. I'll take the little one. Help you down. I can. Didn't say you couldn't. There it was again. That phrase. Grace studied his face. Looking for meanness ownership, the thing men did when they had power. Found nothing. Just patience. She handed Lily down. His hands were massive scarred knuckles, thick, but gentle. Lily stared at him, then grabbed his beard with both fists. Something flickered in Caleb's eyes, gone before Grace could name it. She descended. Her shoes resoled 3 times with scraps hit dirt. She stood before the man who'd just bought her family. "Thank you," she managed. Wasn't kindness. He handed Lily back. Their fingers brushed. His hands were rough as tree bark. Wasn't right what they did. The wagon waited at the square's edge. Sturdy flatbed high sides. 2 horses, 1 gray, 1 brown with white socks. "Ulysses and Grant," Caleb said. "Named for the general." "You fought." "Yes, ma'am." He helped the children into the wagon bed. Blankets laid out cleaner than anything Grace owned. Tommy took the corner, gathering siblings close. Sarah opened her journal, hands shaking. Benny stared at the horses. Maggie finally stopped crying. Caleb gestured to the wagon seat. "You can ride up here, or back with them." "I'll ride up." He helped her up, hand under her elbow, steadying, not grasping. Climbed up beside her. The seat brought them close. Close enough to smell wood smoke leather, something clean like pine. Caleb took the reins, flicked them once. The horses moved. Laramie fell behind. The church where Reverend Michaels had said family troubles weren't his concern. The mercantile where Mordecai counted money while children starved. The boarding house where Samuel Wright worked girls till they dropped. Good riddance. Mr. Stone. Caleb. Caleb. Strange in her mouth. "What do you want from us?" He didn't answer right away. The wagon creaked. Wheels found ruts. The sound settled into rhythm. "Got a ranch," he said finally. "Stone Creek, 8 miles west. Place needs work. Fences down. Fields need planting. Cabin needs..." He paused. "Everything, really. And could use help if you're willing. If I'm not, then you're not." He kept his eyes forward. "But you're welcome either way." Grace studied his profile. Strong jaw. The scar pale against sun-dark skin. Lines around his eyes that spoke of things carried long. "Why'd you do it?" she asked. "You don't know us." "Knew enough." "That's not an answer." "No, ma'am, it's not." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "Had a family once. Wife Catherine, son Daniel. Boy was about your oldest's age when consumption took them." His voice stayed flat. 7 years back. House has been empty since." Grace's throat closed. "I'm sorry." "Appreciate it." He flicked the reins. "Sorry doesn't fix things, but I appreciate it." They rode in silence. The land opened up rolling hills, sage and prairie grass, mountains purple in the distance. Sky so big it hurt to look at. "Mr. Stone, sir," Tommy called from the back. "Caleb's fine." "What kind of ranch is it?" "Cattle mostly, some horses, chickens. Got a milk cow named Betsy. She's got opinions about everything." Benny giggled. First sound of joy Grace had heard from him in months. "You know cattle?" Caleb asked. "No, sir, but I learn fast." "Reckon you do." Sarah leaned forward. "Do you have books?" "Got a Bible, few others. Not much for reading these days." "I like to read," Sarah said quietly. "And write." "Then maybe you can read to me sometime," Caleb said. "Eyes ain't what they used to be." It was a lie. Grace knew. A kindness dressed as need. Her eyes burned. Lily fussed hungry. Grace draped her shawl, began to nurse. Caleb kept his gaze forward, giving privacy. The wagon rolled on. "There." Caleb pointed. Grace looked up. A cabin sat against a hillside. Creek glittered beside it, catching light. Barn to the left solid. Fences traced green pasture. Cattle grazed. Mountains rose behind it all. Not grand, not fine, but real. "It's not much," Caleb said. "It's enough," Grace whispered. The wagon rolled into the yard. A dog appeared. Shepherd mix gray muzzle barked once. Caleb whistled low. The dog sat. "That's Blue. He's friendly." The children climbed down. Tommy helped the younger ones face tight. Sarah clutched her journal. Benny approached Blue, hand out. Maggie held Grace's skirt. Lily stared at everything. Caleb descended, offered his hand. Grace took it. His grip was firm, warm. For a moment they stood close, close enough that she saw the exact shade of gray in his eyes. "Welcome to Stone Creek," he said. The cabin door opened. A woman stood there, native Arapaho, Grace guessed. Maybe 50, wearing a simple dress hair in a long braid. Her face was amused. "About time," the woman said. "Supper's been ready an hour." Caleb's mouth twitched. Might have been a smile. "Grace Hartwell, this is Mary Whitefeather. Helps around the place. Best cook in 3 territories. Mary snorted. "Flattery. You want extra biscuits." Her eyes softened on the children. "Lord Caleb, you brought the whole town." "They ain't the town," Caleb said quietly. "They're family now." Mary's gaze shifted to Grace, assessed her, then nodded. "Well, come on. Food's getting cold, and these babies look half-starved." The children looked to Grace. She nodded. Tommy led them inside. Grace moved to follow. Caleb's voice stopped her. "Mrs. Hartwell." She turned. "You're safe here," he said. "Whatever happens next, whatever you decide, you're safe. All of you." Grace had heard promises before. Her husband had promised to come home from the mines. Mordecai had promised to help after James died. Reverend Michaels had promised God provided. All lies. But something in Caleb's voice, the plain, unvarnished truth of it, made her want to believe. "Thank you," she whispered. "Wasn't kindness," he said again. Then he limped toward the barn, leaving Grace in the yard as sunset lit the mountains on fire. Inside, warmth hit her like a wave. A hearth dominated one wall, fire crackling. Table in the center, scarred but solid. Stairs led to a loft. Shelves lined with jars, beans, corn preserves. The air smelled like wood smoke and cornbread and safety. The children stood frozen, uncertain. Mary ladled stew into bowls. "Sit, all of you." They sat. Grace took the end chair. Her children crowded the table, too many for the space, but no one complained. Mary set bowls in front of them. "Eat." Tommy picked up his spoon, stopped, looked at Grace. "Go ahead," she said. He ate. They all did. Ravenous. Grace watched them shovel stew-tier bread, drink water, like it was the first they'd had in weeks. It nearly was. Mary set a bowl in front of Grace. "You too." Grace picked up the spoon, tasted it, salt, pepper, beef that melted on her tongue, potatoes soft as butter, carrots sweet as spring. Something broke in her chest. Not grief, not shame, relief. She bowed her head. Tears came hot and fast, silent. Her shoulders shook. "Mama." Sarah's voice small and scared. Grace looked up, wiped her eyes. "I'm fine, baby. I'm fine." "You're crying." "Sometimes people cry when they're happy," Mary said quietly. "Your mama's had a hard day. Let her be." The children ate. Grace tried, managed a few bites. Her stomach had forgotten how to handle real food. When they finished, Mary pointed to the loft. "You children sleep up there. Quilts are clean. Chamber pot in the corner, boys use the outhouse, but not after dark. Too many critters." Tommy stood. "What about Mama?" "Your mama gets the bed." Mary gestured to a small room off the main floor. "Mr. Stone sleeps out here." "Where?" Tommy looked around. "Chair by the fire, same as always." Grace's throat tightened. "I can't take his bed." Ain't about can or can't, Mary said. It's what's happening. Now get those little ones upstairs before they fall asleep in their bowls. Grace herded them up. The loft was small but clean. 2 quilts spread on the floor, thick and warm. She tucked them in, Tommy protesting he was too old. Sarah already half asleep. Benny yawning, Maggie clutching her hand. Mama, Maggie whispered. Are we staying? I think so, baby. Is the man nice? Grace thought of Caleb's hands gentle with Lily, his voice stating facts without judgment, his limp, his scar, his gray eyes that held grief like stones. Yes, she said. I think he is. Good. Maggie's eyes closed. Grace kissed each forehead, descended the stairs. Mary was cleaning. Grace moved to help. No, Mary said. You sit. You should sit. Grace sat. Mary worked in silence, efficient. The door opened. Caleb entered, smelling of horses and hay. He looked at Grace, at Mary. They settled. Asleep already, Mary said. Worn clean through. Caleb nodded, poured himself coffee from the pot on the hearth, stood drinking it back to them. Mary dried her hands. I'm heading home. See you tomorrow. Mary, Grace started. Don't thank me yet, Mary said. You haven't tasted my breakfast. She smiled brief warm. Then she was gone. Grace sat alone with the man who'd bought her. Caleb finished his coffee, set the cup down. You can have the bed long as you need it. Where will you sleep? Here's fine. He gestured to the chair by the fire. Slept worse places. The war. The war. After the war. Before the war, come to think of it. He pulled off his hat, set it on the table. His hair was dark silver at the temples. You need anything, I'll be right here. Mr. Stone? Caleb. Caleb. She stood, faced him. What do you want from me? He met her eyes. Didn't flinch, didn't look away. Want you to sleep without fear. Want those children to eat regular. Want to hear laughter in this house again. He paused. Beyond that, nothing. Nothing? Nothing you ain't willing to give. The words hung in the air between them. Grace's hands twisted in her skirt. I don't understand you. Don't need to, Caleb said. Not tonight. Tonight you just need to rest. He turned to the chair, lowered himself into it. His legs stuck out stiff. He closed his eyes. Dismissed. Not cruel. Just done. Grace retreated to the small room. The bed was narrow, the mattress thin, but clean. The quilts smelled like sage. She lay down, stared at the ceiling beams. Listened to her children breathe in the loft above. Listened to the fire crackle. Listened to Caleb's breathing slow and steady in the chair. 7 years, he'd said. 7 years alone in this cabin. Now filled with strangers. Grace closed her eyes. Tomorrow would bring questions. Tomorrow would bring Mordecai demanding payment. Tomorrow would bring reality. But tonight, she was safe. Her children were safe. That was enough. In the main room, Caleb sat with eyes closed, but he wasn't sleeping. Couldn't sleep. Not with the house full of breathing, living souls. 7 years of silence shattered. His chest didn't ache like it used to. That was something. Outside, coyotes called in the distance. The creek murmured. Stars wheeled overhead, cold and bright. Inside, a family slept. And Caleb Stone, who'd thought his life was over at 27 when they buried Catherine, and Daniel felt something he'd forgotten. Not hope. Not yet. But the possibility of it. That was enough. For now. Dawn came cold and blue through the window. Grace woke to voices low, male, unfamiliar. Her heart jumped. She sat up fast, disoriented. Then remembered. Stone Creek. Caleb. Safety. Maybe. She smoothed her dress, still wrinkled from yesterday. No other clothes. Everything she owned had fit in a flour sack Mordecai threw at her feet 3 days ago. She stepped into the main room. Caleb stood at the table with another man. This one was younger, maybe 25, lean as a whip. He had dark hair, darker eyes, and a gun on his hip that looked well used. Both men turned. The stranger's eyes swept over Grace's quick assessment, not leering, then away. "Mrs. Hartwell," Caleb said. "This is Ezra Cole. Works the ranch with me." Ezra touched his hat. "Ma'am?" "Mr. Cole." "Just Ezra's fine." He looked at Caleb. "Mary said you bought a whole family. Didn't believe her till now." "Believe her," Caleb said. "Mordecai's gonna be trouble." "Let him try." Grace's stomach tightened. "He's coming today." Said he would. Caleb poured coffee, handed her a cup. "Ezra's here in case Mordecai brings friends." "You think he will?" "Man like that always brings friends." Caleb's voice stayed level. "Don't worry about it. Don't worry," as if worry was optional. Footsteps on the stairs. Tommy descended, followed by Sarah. Both stopped when they saw Ezra. "Morning," Ezra said. Tommy nodded wary. Sarah clutched her journal. "You're the oldest?" Ezra asked Tommy. "Yes, sir." "How old, Doom? 13. "Old enough to work then." Ezra looked at Caleb. "Could use help moving that downed fence in the north pasture." Tommy straightened. "I can do that." "Didn't ask if you could, asked if you would." There was that phrasing again. Grace noticed. Caleb and Ezra both did it, stated things without assuming. "I'll do it," Tommy said. "Good. Eat first. Can't work on empty." Mary arrived with the sunrise, carrying a basket of eggs. She took one look at the crowded cabin and laughed. "Lord have mercy. It's like a schoolhouse in here." She cooked eggs, bacon, biscuits that smelled like heaven. The children ate like wolves again. Grace managed half a biscuit, her stomach still uncertain. Benny watched Ezra with wide eyes. "You got a gun." "I do." "You ever shoot anybody?" "Benny," Grace said sharply. "It's all right, ma'am." Ezra looked at Benny. "Only when I had to, and I didn't like it." "Oh." Benny considered this. "Can you teach me to shoot?" "When you're older, maybe." Maggie stayed glued to Grace's side, silent. Sarah ate mechanically, eyes on her journal. Lily banged a spoon on the table until Mary gently took it away. After breakfast, Caleb stood. "Tommy, you're with Ezra. Sarah, Mary could use help gathering eggs. Benny, you can feed the chickens. Grace." He paused. "You can rest, or help Mary, your choice." "I'll help." "Didn't think you'd rest," Caleb said. Was that approval in his voice? Hard to tell. The morning passed in motion. Grace followed Mary to the chicken coop, Maggie attached to her skirt, Lily on her hip. Sarah scattered feed, quiet but thorough. Benny chased chickens until Mary told him to stop. "They won't lay if you stress them," Mary said. "How do you stress a chicken?" Benny asked. "Keep chasing them, and you'll find out." Grace gathered eggs careful. The chickens clucked and shifted. The work was simple, physical. Her hands remembered this from childhood, before Philadelphia, before her father taught her medicine. "You've done this before," Mary observed. "On my grandfather's farm, long time ago." "You ain't from around here?" "Pennsylvania, Philadelphia." Mary's eyebrows rose. "That's a long way from Wyoming." "My husband—" Grace stopped, swallowed. "James wanted west, said there was opportunity." "Was he right?" "He's dead, so no." Mary's face softened. "I'm sorry." "Everyone's sorry." Grace set an egg in the basket harder than necessary. It cracked. "Sorry doesn't fix things." "No," Mary agreed. "But it's better than nothing." They worked in silence. Then Mary said, "Caleb's a good man." "I don't know him." "You will. He's the kind that shows through action, not words." "What happened to his family?" Grace asked. He said consumption, but 7 years back, winter of 71. Mary's voice went distant. Catherine was pregnant, 8 months along. Caught a cough that wouldn't quit. Baby came early. Boy, Daniel. Lived 3 days. Catherine lasted a week after. Grace's chest constricted. God. Caleb buried them on the hill behind the barn, under the oak. Goes up there every Sunday. Mary looked at Grace. He ain't bought anyone at auction before, or brought anyone here. You and your children, you're the first living souls in this house since Catherine died. Why us? You'd have to ask him. Mary smiled slightly. Good luck getting a straight answer. A shout from the yard interrupted them. Male voices raised. Grace's blood went cold. Mordecai. She ran toward the house, children behind her, rounded the corner and stopped. 3 men on horses, Mordecai in the center face, red already. On his right, a younger man, his son Jacob, maybe 19. On his left, someone Grace didn't recognize. Big, mean-looking. Caleb stood in the yard, thumbs hooked in his belt. Ezra leaned against the barn, relaxed. But his hand was near his gun. Tommy stood behind Caleb, fists clenched. There she is, Mordecai said, pointing at Grace. My brother's widow, bought and paid for. Bought and paid for by me, Caleb said. You got a problem with that, take it up with Chester Boone. I got a problem with you thinking $100 settles this. It's twice the debt. There's interest, damages, emotional distress. Emotional distress. Ezra laughed. That's rich. Mordecai's face darkened. You stay out of this breed. Ezra's expression didn't change, but something cold entered his eyes. Careful with that word. Or what? Or I'll forget my manners. The big man on Mordecai's left shifted in his saddle. You threatening Mr. Hartwell? Stating facts, Ezra said. Caleb held up a hand. Mordecai, you want money, fine, I'll pay. He pulled the leather pouch from his coat. Here's 100. Take it and go. Not enough. It's what we agreed. I changed my mind. Mordecai's smile was oily. I want 200, plus the woman does laundry for the store, twice a week. Grace's hands curled into fists. No, Caleb said simply. Then I'll take her back. And the children. Law's on my side. Law says I bought them fair. Chester's got the paperwork. Law also says I can sue for improper debt settlement. Mordecai leaned forward. I know the territorial judge. Good friend of mine. He'll side with family. Caleb was quiet for a long moment. Then, you finished. What? I asked if you're finished talking. Mordecai sputtered. You can't just, because if you're finished, I got work to do. Caleb's voice stayed level, almost bored. You want to sue. You want to talk to the judge, talk. But you're not getting more money. You're not getting Grace or her children. And you're not stepping foot on my land again. Your land? Mordecai's laugh was sharp. This is open territory. I can go where I please. Not anymore. Caleb's hand moved to his own gun. Grace hadn't noticed it before. This is my property, legal and registered. You're trespassing. The big man spoke. He can't shoot us for trespassing. Can't I? Caleb's eyes stayed on Mordecai. Wyoming's a big territory. Lot of ways a man can disappear. You threatening me? Mordecai's voice cracked. Stating facts. The silence stretched. Horses shifted. The big man's hand drifted toward his gun. Ezra straightened, no longer leaning. I wouldn't. 3 against 2, the big man said. Can you count? Ezra gestured with his chin. Grace turned. Mary stood on the porch holding a rifle. Her face was placid. 3 against 3, Ezra corrected. And Mary don't miss. Mordecai looked between them. His face went from red to purple. This ain't over. Yes, it is, Caleb said quietly. Go home, Mordecai, while you still can. For a moment, Grace thought Mordecai would charge. His hand twitched toward his gun. Jacob grabbed his father's arm. "Pa, let's go." "Jacob." "Now, Pa." Mordecai jerked his reins. His horse danced sideways. He glared at Grace. "You'll regret this. All of you." "Already got regrets," Caleb said. "You ain't one of them." Mordecai spurred his horse. The three men wheeled and rode out, dust rising in their wake. The yard stayed silent until they disappeared over the rise. Then Tommy let out a breath he'd been holding. "That was stupid," Caleb finished. "Mordecai's stupid. Stupid men are dangerous." "You think he'll come back?" Grace asked. "Probably." Caleb looked at her. "You scared?" Grace thought about it. Yesterday she would have been terrified. Today, standing in this yard with these people, this scarred cowboy, this half-native ranch hand, this Arapaho woman with a rifle, she felt something else. "No," she said. "I'm angry." Caleb's mouth twitched. Definitely a smile this time. "Good. Anger's useful. Fear ain't." Mary lowered the rifle. "I'm making lunch. Y'all wash up." She disappeared inside. The tension broke. Tommy sagged against the fence. Sarah had been writing the whole time Grace saw her hand shaking as she scribbled. Benny emerged from behind the water trough. "That was amazing," Benny breathed. "Mr. Caleb, you were like a gunfighter." "Wasn't a gunfight," Caleb said. "Just talk." "But you would have shot him, right, if he drew—" Caleb's face went hard. "Shooting ain't something to admire, boy. It's something you do when there's no other choice." "But, no buts." Caleb's voice sharpened. "You think killing's easy fun? It ain't. It stays with you. Every face, every shot." He stopped, jaw tight. "Don't glorify it." Benny stepped back, chastened. Grace watched Caleb's face, saw the shadow cross it. The war, she thought. He'd seen things, done things. They all went inside for lunch. Mary had made soup bread, dried apples. The meal was quiet. Tommy kept looking at Caleb like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Sarah wrote between bites. Maggie ate mechanically. Benny stayed subdued. After Caleb stood. "Tommy, you're still with Ezra. Rest of you, Grace, can I talk to you?" Her stomach dropped. "Of course." He led her outside, away from the cabin. They walked toward the barn. Blue trotted alongside, tail wagging. "I need to know something," Caleb said. "What?" "Can you shoot?" Grace blinked. "What?" "A gun. Can you shoot one?" Yes. My father taught me. For snakes mostly. But I'm not good enough. I'll get you a rifle. Keep it in the house." He stopped, faced her. "Mordecai's not done. He'll come back probably when I'm out in the fields. I need to know you can protect yourself and the children." Grace's mouth went dry. "You really think he'd—" "Don't know what he'd do. Rather not find out." Caleb's eyes searched hers. "This ain't Philadelphia. Out here, law's what you make it. You need to be ready." "I don't want to shoot anyone." "Neither do I. But wanting and doing are different things." He paused. "I won't let anyone hurt you or your children. But I can't be everywhere. So you need to be able to protect them when I can't." Grace's hands trembled. She clasped them together. "All right. All right. Yes. Teach me." Something shifted in Caleb's expression. Respect, maybe. "Tomorrow. After chores. Ezra'll show you." "Not you." "I'm not patient enough for teaching." He turned back toward the cabin. "Ezra is." They walked in silence. Then Grace said, "Thank you, for this morning, for standing up to Mordecai." "Wasn't for you." She stopped. "What?" Caleb stopped too, but didn't turn. "Wasn't for you," he repeated. "Was for me. I'm tired of men like Mordecai thinking they own the world. Still, thank you." He nodded once, kept walking. Grace stood there watching him limp toward the barn. This man was a puzzle. Hard edges, soft center. Or maybe the opposite. She couldn't tell yet. The afternoon passed in work. Grace helped Mary wash clothes in the creek. The water was freezing, but Grace welcomed the cold. It matched her hands, which hadn't stopped shaking since Mordecai left. "He'll come back," Mary said, scrubbing a shirt. "I know. And next time he'll bring more men." "I know that too." Mary looked at her. "You scared?" "Terrified," Grace admitted. "But I can't show it. Not to the children." "They already know." Mary wrung out the shirt. "Children always know." That night, Grace lay in the small bed listening. The house settled around her, creaks and sighs, normal sounds. But her ears strained for hoofbeats, shouts, gunfire. Nothing came. She finally slept near dawn and woke to Lily crying. Stumbled into the main room. Caleb was already there, heating water over the fire. "She's teething," Grace said, taking Lily from the makeshift cradle Caleb had fashioned from a drawer. Mary left willow bark for the pain. He gestured to the table. Grace mixed the bark in water, gave it to Lily on a cloth to suck. The baby quieted, hiccuping. "You didn't sleep," Caleb observed. "Neither did you." "I don't sleep much anymore." They stood in the dim pre-dawn light, the fire crackling between them. Lily dozed against Grace's shoulder. "Can I ask you something?" Grace said. "You can ask." "Why'd you really buy us?" Caleb was quiet so long, Grace thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Saw my son. In your Tommy." Grace's breath caught. "Same age. Same look in his eyes, like the world's against him, but he's gonna fight anyway." Caleb's voice roughened. "Daniel had that look, day he was born. Nurse said he wouldn't make it, lungs too weak, but he fought. 3 days of fighting." He stopped. "Lost anyway." "I'm sorry," Grace whispered. "When I saw Tommy standing there, fists up, trying to protect you all." Caleb shook his head. "Couldn't walk away. Wouldn't have been right. So it was for Tommy. For him. For all of you. For me." He finally looked at her. "Selfish, maybe, but honest." "It's not selfish." "Ain't it?" His smile was bitter. "I bought you because I was lonely. That's the truth. House was too quiet. Couldn't stand it anymore." Grace shifted Lily to her other shoulder. "Loneliness isn't selfish. It's human." "Maybe." The moment stretched. Comfortable almost. Then Caleb cleared his throat. "Sun's coming. Got work." He left. Grace stood alone with Lily, watching dawn break through the window, gold and pink, spreading across the sky. She thought about what he'd said, about Daniel, about loneliness, about truth. This man had saved them, yes, but they might be saving him too. The thought settled warm in her chest. The next 3 days passed in rhythm. Work from dawn to dusk. Grace learned the routines: feeding chickens, milking Betsy the opinionated cow, washing, cooking, mending. Her hands blistered, then hardened. Her body ached, then strengthened. Tommy worked with Ezra, learning fences and cattle and horses. He came back each night exhausted but proud. Sarah helped Mary with preserves, quiet and careful. Benny discovered the barn cats and appointed himself their protector. Maggie followed Grace everywhere, slowly relaxing. Caleb taught Grace to shoot on the 3rd afternoon. Not Ezra, he'd changed his mind. They went to a clearing behind the barn. He handed her a rifle, showed her how to hold it. "Breathe out when you squeeze," he said. "Don't pull. Squeeze gentle." Grace aimed at the target. He'd set up a piece of wood against a hay bale. Squeezed. The rifle kicked hard. The shot went wide. Again. She tried. Missed again. "You're thinking too much. Just feel it." Feel what? The moment before. The stillness. His hand covered hers on the stock, adjusting. "There. Feel that." Grace felt his hand, warm and calloused. felt her heart beating too fast. Yes. That's when you shoot. She tried again. This time the wood splintered. Better, Caleb said. They practiced until her shoulder ached from the recoil, until she could hit the target 3 times out of 5. That'll do, Caleb said. You won't be a sharpshooter, but you can protect yourself. Grace lowered the rifle. I don't want to use this on a person. Neither do I. But if Mordecai comes, I know. She met his eyes. I'll do what I have to. He nodded. Something passed between them, understanding maybe, or recognition. That night, Grace dreamed of gunfire, woke sweating heart racing, crept to the window. The yard was empty, peaceful. Stars overhead. She was turning back to bed when she saw him, Caleb limping up the hill behind the barn, toward the oak tree. Sunday. Mary had mentioned he went there on Sundays. Grace watched him reach the tree stand before 2 small crosses. His head bowed, his shoulders bent under weight she couldn't see. She turned away, giving him privacy, but her chest ached for him. Morning came with shouting. Grace jolted awake, ran to the window. 3 wagons in the yard. 8, maybe 10 men. Mordecai at the front. Caleb Stone. Mordecai's voice rang out. Come out here. Grace grabbed the rifle, ran into the main room. Caleb was already there pulling on his boots. Ezra appeared from the barn, Mary from the back room where she sometimes slept. Stay inside, Caleb told Grace. No. Grace, they're here for me. I'm not hiding. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. They stepped onto this porch together. The children crowded behind Tommy, pushing forward. Mary held the younger ones back. Mordecai sat on his wagon, grinning. Got the territorial judge here, Stone, Judge Whitman. He's got something to say about your little purchase. A man stepped down from the second wagon, older gray-beard, black coat. He looked uncomfortable. Mr. Stone, the judge said, I'm afraid there's been a complaint. Let me guess, Caleb said. Mordecai claims the auction was illegal. Not illegal, but improper. Family law states that widows and orphans should be placed with blood relatives when possible, even if those relatives sold them like cattle. The judge flinched. I understand your position, but do you? Caleb's voice went cold. You understand what it's like to watch children starve, to see a woman stripped of dignity for debts she didn't owe. The law is the law. Then the law's wrong. Silence. The judge shifted. Mr. Stone, I don't want to make this difficult. Too late. Mordecai laughed. You can't fight the law, Stone. Hand them over peaceful, or we'll take them by force. Try it. The men in the wagons stirred. Hands moved toward guns. Ezra stepped forward. Anyone who draws on this property gets buried on it. Big talk for one man, someone shouted. Who said he's alone? The voice came from the barn. A figure stepped out. Then another. Then 3 more. Grace's eyes widened. Men she'd never seen before, all armed, all standing with Caleb. Thought you were alone out here, Mordecai said, but his voice wavered. I am, mostly. Caleb gestured to the men. These are my neighbors, ranchers from up north. Heard there might be trouble. Came to help. It was a lie, had to be. But the men stood solid, rifles ready. The judge cleared his throat. Mr. Stone, this doesn't change the law. Then arrest me. Caleb spread his arms. But you're not taking them. Caleb. Grace stepped forward. No. He didn't look at her. You're not going back to him. None of you. I appreciate what you're trying to do, the judge said, but I have a legal obligation. Your legal obligation is to protect the innocent. A new voice, female and sharp. Everyone turned. A woman stepped down from the third wagon. Tall, maybe 60, dressed in dark wool. Her face was stern, but her eyes were kind. Who are you? Mordecai demanded. Rebecca Thornton, territorial advocate for women and children. She looked at the judge. You didn't think I'd hear about this Whitman you're slipping? The judge paled. Mrs. Thornton, this is a family matter. This is an abduction matter. Rebecca pulled papers from her bag. I have statements here from 3 witnesses in Laramie, all stating that Mordecai Hartwell forced his brother's widow onto an auction block under false debt claims. False, Mordecai sputtered. I have papers. Forged papers. Rebecca's voice cut like glass. Your handwriting, Mordecai, not your brother's. I had them analyzed. The yard went dead silent. Grace's hands shook. You mean the debt wasn't real? Oh, there was a debt? $50, not $500. Rebecca looked at Caleb. You paid twice what was actually owed Mr. Stone. Caleb said nothing. His face was stone. Mordecai's was purple. That's a lie. The judge saw the papers. The judge saw what you showed him. Rebecca turned to Whitman. Which makes you complicit, unless you admit you didn't verify the documents. The judge's mouth opened. Closed. I assumed they were legitimate. You assumed wrong. Rebecca gestured to the men in the wagons. These people need to leave, now, before I file formal charges against Mordecai for fraud and attempted kidnapping. You can't? Mordecai started. I can, and I will. You have 5 minutes to clear this property. Mordecai looked at the judge. The judge looked at his boots. This ain't over, Mordecai hissed. Yes, it is, Rebecca said. And if you come near this family again, I'll personally ensure you spend the next 10 years in territorial prison. Are we clear? Mordecai's face worked. Then he jerked his reins. Let's go. The wagons turned. The men followed. Within minutes, the yard was empty except for Rebecca the judge and Caleb's mysterious neighbors. Rebecca approached Grace. Mrs. Hartwell, are you and your children safe here? Grace looked at Caleb, at the cabin, at her children huddled together but unharmed. Yes, she said. We're safe. And you wish to remain? I do. Rebecca nodded. Then I'll file the paperwork. The auction sale will be voided, and you'll be granted independent status as a widow with dependent children. Mordecai will have no legal claim. Thank you, Grace whispered. Rebecca smiled brief warm. Thank Mr. Stone. He's the one who sent for me. Grace turned to Caleb. You sent for her. 2 days ago. Ezra rode to Cheyenne. He shrugged. Figured the law might listen to someone official. But how did you know about the forged papers? Didn't. But I knew Mordecai was a liar. Gambled that someone would find proof. Grace's throat closed. This man, this scarred, limping, grief-worn man had fought for them. Not with guns, but with law. With thinking ahead. I don't know how to thank you, she said. Don't need thanks. He looked at Rebecca. You'll stay for supper. Long ride back to Cheyenne. I'd be honored. The mysterious neighbors melted away. Turned out they were real after all ranchers who owed Caleb favors. The judge slunk off properly shamed. Rebecca stayed charming the children over Mary's cooking. That night, after Rebecca left and the children slept, Grace found Caleb on the porch. He sat in the chair leg stretched out, staring at the stars. Can I sit? She asked. It's your porch, too. She sat on the step. You saved us. Again. Just did what was right. It was more than that. She turned to look at him. You didn't have to send for Rebecca. You could have just kept us. No one would have known the difference. I would have known. So I don't want you here because I bought you. I want you here because you chose it. The words hung in the night air. Grace's heart beat too fast. Why does that matter? She asked. Caleb was quiet for a long time. Then, Because Catherine never got to choose. I brought her west. She didn't want to come. Wanted to stay in St. Louis near her family. But I was stubborn. Thought I knew better. His voice roughened. She died hating it here. Hating me, maybe. She didn't hate you. How would you know? Because you loved her enough to remember it hurt her. A man she hated wouldn't care. Caleb turned to look at her. Really look. His eyes were wet. I want you to choose, he said quietly. Every day. Choose to stay or choose to go. But choose. Grace's hands trembled. She clasped them together. I choose to stay. Today you do. Yes, today I do. He nodded. Looked back at the stars. They sat in silence. Comfortable. The kind of silence that didn't need filling. And Grace thought, maybe this is what safety feels like. Not the absence of danger, but the presence of choice. The thought settled warm in her chest. Like hope. The morning after Rebecca left, Grace woke to find Caleb already gone. His bedroll by the fire was folded neat coffee pot still warm on the hearth. She poured herself a cup, hands steady for the first time in weeks. Tommy clattered down the stairs, Sarah behind him. Both stopped when they saw her. Where's Mr. Stone? Tommy asked. Out working, I imagine. Can I go help him? Grace studied her son. He'd grown taller in just these few days, or maybe he was just standing straighter. Did he ask for help? No, ma'am, but I want to learn. Then go ask him. Tommy was out the door before she finished speaking. Sarah lingered, journal pressed to her chest. What is it, sweetheart? Mama, are we really staying forever? Grace set down her cup, knelt to meet Sarah's eyes. Do you want to stay? Sarah nodded, quick and certain. Then yes, we're staying. What if Uncle Mordecai comes back? He won't. Grace said it firm, believing it. And if he does, we're ready this time. Sarah's shoulders loosened. She opened her journal, showed Grace a page. The handwriting was careful, precise. I've been writing everything down, so I don't forget. Grace read the first line. The day Mama was saved by a cowboy with kind eyes. Her throat tightened. That's beautiful, baby. I want to remember the good parts, Sarah whispered. There's been so many bad parts. Grace pulled her close. Then we'll make more good parts, starting today. The day unfolded in work and small discoveries. Benny found a nest of field mice in the barn and brought them to Mary, who shrieked and chased him with a broom. Maggie laughed first, real laugh Grace had heard from her in months. Lily learned to clap and did it constantly, proud of herself. Grace worked alongside Mary in the garden, pulling weeds from between potato plants. The soil was rich, dark, different from Philadelphia's hard-packed city dirt. You're good at this, Mary observed. My grandfather taught me, before he died. You miss him. Every day. Grace sat back on her heels. He would have liked it here. The space. The quiet. Ain't always quiet, Mary grinned. Wait till winter. Wind howls like the devil himself. I'm not afraid of wind. Good. You'll need that stubbornness. They worked in comfortable silence. Then Mary said, Caleb's different since you came. Grace's hands stilled. Different how? Lighter. He smiles more. Well, he doesn't smile exactly. But his face ain't so tight all the time. Mary pulled a particularly stubborn weed. 7 years he's been alone up here. Ezra and me, we help, but we ain't family. We can't fill that hole Catherine and Daniel left. I'm not trying to fill anything. Didn't say you were. But you are, whether you mean to or not. Mary looked at her. And he's filling something for you, too. Admit it. Grace's cheeks warmed. He saved us. I'm grateful. That all? What else would it be? Mary's smile was knowing. Give it time. You'll figure it out. That afternoon, Grace found Caleb in the north pasture mending fence with Tommy. They worked in rhythm, Caleb holding posts steady while Tommy hammered. The boy's face was red with effort and pride. "He's a hard worker," Caleb said when Grace approached. "His father was too." "Tell me about him. Your husband." Grace hadn't expected the question. She watched Tommy hammer another nail, buying time. "James was good, kind, dreamed big. Too big, maybe." "How so?" "Thought we could strike it rich in the mines. Left Philadelphia with promises of gold, silver, a better life." She swallowed hard. "Got a cave-in instead." Caleb's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry. Everyone's sorry." She echoed her earlier words to Mary. "But James made his choice, and I made mine by following him." "You regret it." Grace looked at Tommy, strong and capable despite everything. At the mountains rising purple in the distance. At the endless sky. "No," she said, surprised to mean it. "I regret losing him, but not coming west." "Good." Caleb handed Tommy another nail. Then something worthwhile came from it. That night, Prudence arrived alone. Grace was washing dishes when she heard the wagon. Her stomach dropped. She grabbed the rifle from beside the door, heart pounding. But it was just Prudence. No Mordecai. No men with guns. Caleb met her in the yard, Ezra appearing from the barn like a shadow. Grace stepped onto the porch, rifle lowered but ready. Prudence climbed down from the wagon, moving slow. She looked smaller than Grace remembered, older, tired. "I'm not here to cause trouble," Prudence said. "Then why are you here?" Caleb's voice was flat. "To talk to Grace. Just her. Please." Grace looked at Caleb. He nodded once. She set the rifle inside, came down the steps. 5 minutes, Caleb said to Prudence. "Then you leave." Prudence nodded, grateful. Grace led her away from the cabin toward the creek where they couldn't be overheard. They stood on the bank, water rushing between them and the rest of the world. "I'm sorry," Prudence said. Her voice cracked. "For everything. The auction. Trying to take Lily. All of it." Grace said nothing. Just waited. "Mordecai. He's not a good man. I know that. I've always known." Prudence twisted her hands together. "But I thought if I had a child, if I could just be a mother, maybe I could forgive him for everything else." "That's not how it works." "I know." Prudence's eyes filled. "I know that now. Rebecca Thornton came to see me yesterday, told me what Mordecai did, the forged papers, the lies. I didn't know, Grace. I swear I didn't know." "But you knew the auction was wrong." Prudence flinched. "Yes." "And you still tried to take my baby." "Because I'm desperate." The words burst out. 20 years, Grace. 20 years of praying, hoping, trying everything. Every month the same heartbreak. Every baby I see in town is a knife in my chest. Tears streamed down her face. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to understand." Grace's hands clenched. Part of her wanted to rage, to tell Prudence that pain didn't excuse cruelty. But another part, the part that had buried a husband, that had stood on an auction block with 5 terrified children, that part understood. "I can't give you Lily," Grace said quietly. "I know. And I can't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever." Prudence nodded, shoulders shaking. "But I understand," Grace continued. "The wanting. The emptiness. I felt it too when James died, like part of me was buried with him." "How did you survive it?" Grace looked back at the cabin where her children were safe and warm, where Caleb was standing guard, where Mary was probably making supper. "I didn't survive alone," she said, "and neither should you." Prudence wiped her eyes. "Mordecai won't let me leave. I've got nowhere to go." "Then make somewhere." Grace surprised herself with the fierceness in her voice. "You're not powerless, Prudence. You just choose to be." Prudence stared at her. Then slowly she nodded. "You're right. Will you be safe going back to him?" "For now. He's too angry at you and Caleb to notice me." Prudence moved toward her wagon. "But I'm going to leave him. Soon. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. truly. She climbed up, took the reins. Grace watched her drive away, feeling something she hadn't expected. Pity, and a strange kind of hope. Caleb appeared beside her. What did she want? To apologize. You believe her? Grace thought about Prudence's tears, the defeat in her shoulders. Yes, I think I do. You're kinder than I'd be. No, just tired of carrying hate. She looked at him. Aren't you? Caleb's expression shifted. Every day. That night, Grace couldn't sleep. She heard Caleb moving in the main room, restless as she was. Finally, she got up. He sat by the fire, whittling something. Didn't look up when she entered. Can't sleep? He asked. Too much thinking. I know that feeling. Grace sat on the floor near his chair, drawing her knees up. What are you making? He showed her. A small horse carved from pine. The detail was extraordinary mane, flowing legs in mid-gallop. That's beautiful. It's for Benny. He's been asking about horses. Caleb's knife moved in small, precise strokes. Figured this might tide him over till he's old enough to ride. Grace's chest ached. You're good with them, the children. Doesn't come natural, just trying. That's more than most men do. Caleb was quiet. Then, I wanted to be a father, with Catherine. We tried for years before she finally conceived. When Daniel was born, his voice caught. 3 days. That's all I got. 3 days of being someone's father. You're someone's father now, Grace said softly. Not by blood, but Tommy looks up to you. Benny follows you everywhere. Even Sarah watches you when she thinks no one's looking. That's different. Is it? Caleb set down the carving, looked at her. Yes, because they're not mine. They're yours. And one day you might choose to leave, take them somewhere better, and I'll be alone again. Is that what you're afraid of? I'm not afraid. Liar. The word hung between them. Caleb's jaw worked. Then he laughed, short, bitter. Yeah, all right. I'm terrified. Of us leaving. Of caring again. Of letting myself hope this could be. He stopped, shook his head. Doesn't matter. It does matter. Grace leaned forward. Caleb, I'm not going anywhere. I told you I chose to stay. You said you chose to stay today. Tomorrow might be different. Then I'll choose again tomorrow. And the day after that. She reached out, almost touched his hand, then stopped. I'm tired of running, of being afraid. This place you marry Ezra, this ranch, it's the first time I've felt safe since James died. Safe isn't love, Caleb said quietly. Grace's breath caught. I didn't say it was. But it could be, someday, if... He stood abruptly, upsetting the chair. I'm saying this wrong. Then say it right. He turned, faced her. His eyes were storm gray, intense. I bought you at auction. Worst possible way to start anything. But these past weeks, watching you with the children, watching you work, watching you stand up to Mordecai, Grace, you're the strongest person I've ever met. And Caleb. Grace stood too. They were close now, close enough to touch. Just say it. I'm falling in love with you. The words came out rough, like they hurt. And I know that's wrong. No, I've got no right, but it's true. Grace's heart hammered against her ribs. You think you've got no right? I bought you. You saved me. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. She took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, warm and calloused. And for what it's worth, I'm falling too. Caleb went very still. You mean that? I don't say things I don't mean. He pulled her close, then sudden and fierce. Not a kiss, just his arms around her, her face pressed to his chest. She could hear his heart beating fast and hard. I won't hurt you, he whispered into her hair. I swear I won't. I know. And the children, I'll take care of them like they're my own. I know that too. They stood like that for a long moment. Then Grace pulled back, looked up at him. But we should wait. For anything more than this. The children need time. I need time. I've got time. Caleb's thumb brushed her cheek. Got all the time in the world. Grace smiled, real and warm. Good. They separated, suddenly awkward. Caleb cleared his throat. You should sleep. So should you. I will. Eventually. Grace returned to her room, but she didn't sleep. Just lay there, hand pressed to her chest, where her heart still raced. She was falling in love with a scarred cowboy who carved horses for children and faced down mobs without flinching, who buried his family under an oak tree and carried grief like stones in his pockets. And somehow, impossibly, that felt right. The next morning brought trouble of a different kind. Tommy burst into the cabin at dawn, breathless. Mr. Caleb, the cattle, someone's driven off half the herd. Caleb was on his feet instantly. How many? By 20, maybe more. Found the fence cut in the north pasture. Damn. Caleb grabbed his gun belt. Ezra? Ezra appeared from the barn, already saddled. Saw the tracks. 3 riders, maybe 4, headed northeast. Mordecai, Grace said. Probably. Caleb buckled the belt. He can't touch you legally, so he's hitting where it hurts. How bad is it? Grace asked. Losing 20 head? Caleb's face was grim. Bad enough. That's 3 months' profit, maybe more. What are you going to do? Get them back. He looked at Ezra. Round up whoever's available. We ride in 10 minutes. Caleb, wait. Grace grabbed his arm. It could be a trap, to draw you away from the ranch. I know. Then don't go. Have to. Can't let him think he can steal from me without consequence. He covered her hand with his. You'll be safe. Mary's here, and you've got the rifle. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about you. Something softened in his face. I'll be careful. Promise. You better be. Grace released him. Because if you get yourself killed, I'll never forgive you. Caleb almost smiled. Yes, ma'am. He left with Ezra and 2 other ranch hands Grace hadn't met before. Tommy begged to go, but Caleb shut that down fast. I need you here, Caleb told him. Protecting your mother and the others. That's more important than chasing cattle thieves. Tommy straightened, pride and disappointment warring on his face. Yes, sir. The men rode out. Grace stood in the yard watching until they disappeared over the rise. Mary came to stand beside her. He'll be fine. Caleb survived worse than Mordecai. I know. Grace stopped. I'm afraid. Of losing him. Of losing this. All of it. The safety. The hope. She turned to Mary. Is that selfish? No, that's human. Mary touched her shoulder. Come on. Worrying won't bring them back faster. We've got work to do. The day dragged. Grace threw herself into chores, washing, cooking, mending. Anything to keep her hands busy and her mind quiet. But every sound made her jump. Every bird call could be hoofbeats. Every shadow could be riders. Tommy paced like a caged animal. Sarah wrote furiously in her journal. Benny stayed close to Mary. Maggie clung to Grace's skirt, sensing the tension. Afternoon bled into evening. No riders, no word. Grace made supper mechanically. The children ate in silence. Even Lily was quiet, as if she understood something was wrong. After supper, Grace took the rifle and went to the porch. Tommy joined her carrying the shotgun Caleb had left him. You think they're all right? Tommy asked. I have to believe they are. What if Mordecai? Tommy's voice cracked. What if he hurts them? Grace looked at her son, saw the boy he'd been, the man he was becoming. Then we'll deal with it. Together. Tommy nodded, jaw set. They sat together as darkness fell. Stars emerged cold and bright. The creek murmured. Coyotes called in the distance. Then hoofbeats. Grace stood rifle ready. Tommy beside her, shotgun raised. 3 horses emerged from the darkness. Caleb in the lead, slumped in his saddle. Ezra supporting him on one side, another ranch hand on the other. Grace's heart stopped. "Caleb!" She ran to him. He tried to straighten, failed. Blood soaked his left shoulder. "I'm all right," he said through gritted teeth. "Just a scratch." "That's not a scratch." Grace turned to Ezra. "Get him inside, now." They hauled Caleb into the cabin, laid him on the table. Mary appeared with hot water and clean cloth. Grace tore open his shirt. The wound was high on his shoulder, still bleeding. A bullet graze, not a through and through, but deep. "What happened?" Grace demanded, pressing cloth to the wound. "Ambush," Ezra said. "We got the cattle back, but Mordecai had men waiting. They shot at us as we left." "Did you shoot back?" "Had to." Ezra's face was grim. "2 of his men are wounded, maybe dead. We didn't stay to check." Grace's hands shook as she worked. Caleb's face was pale, jaw clenched against pain. "Grace," he said. "I'm sorry." "Shut up." She cleaned the wound hands steadier than her voice. "You're an idiot. I told you it was a trap." "You were right." "Of course I was right." Tears blurred her vision. "You could have been killed." "But I wasn't. This time." She met his eyes. "Don't you dare do that again." "Can't promise that." "Then promise to be more careful." "All right." He reached up with his good hand, touched her face. "I promise." Grace worked in silence after that, cleaned and bandaged the wound. Mary brought willow bark tea for the pain. Caleb drank it, grimacing. "You need rest," Grace said. "Can't. Mordecai will." "Mordecai can wait till morning." Grace's voice went hard. "You're no good to anyone dead." Caleb looked at her, then nodded. "Yes, ma'am." They moved him to the bed, Grace's bed. She didn't argue, just helped Ezra get him settled. "I'll stay up," Ezra said. "Keep watch." "I'll help," Tommy said. Grace looked at her son, saw the determination in his face. "All right, but wake me if anything happens." The night passed slowly. Grace dozed in the chair by the bed, jerking awake at every sound. Caleb slept fitfully, fever starting to burn through him. Near dawn, he woke thrashing. Grace pressed him down gently. "It's all right. You're safe." "Catherine." His eyes were wild, unseeing. "Catherine, the baby." "Caleb, it's me. It's Grace." He blinked, focused. "Grace." "I'm here." He grabbed her hand grip, crushing. "Don't leave. Please don't leave." "I'm not going anywhere. Promise." "I promise." Grace smoothed his hair back. "Now sleep. I'll be right here." He closed his eyes but didn't let go of her hand. Grace sat with him through the rest of the night, watching him breathe, feeling his pulse under her fingers. And she thought, this is love, not the pretty kind from poems. The real kind. The kind that stays through blood and fear and fever. The kind that promises and means it. When dawn broke, Caleb's fever had eased. He woke clear-eyed, looked at Grace still sitting beside him. "You stayed," he said. "I promised." "Thank you." Grace smiled, tired but real. "You're welcome." Outside, the sun rose over the mountains, painting the world gold and new. And in the small cabin at Stone Creek, 2 broken people chose each other again. One moment at a time. One promise at a time. And that was enough. Caleb's fever broke on the 3rd day, but the danger didn't. Grace was changing his bandage when Ezra burst through the door, face tight. "Riders coming, 6 of them. Mordecai's in front." Grace's hand stilled on the bandage. "How far?" 10 minutes, maybe less." Caleb tried to sit up. Grace pushed him back down. "You're not going anywhere." "Grace, you have to stay alive." She turned to Ezra. "Get everyone inside, bar the door." "We should run," Ezra said. "Load the wagon head for Cheyenne." "No." Grace's voice cut sharp. "We run now, we'll be running forever. I'm done running." Tommy appeared on the stairs, shotgun in hand. "I'll fight." "No, you won't." Grace looked at her son. You'll protect your sisters and brother. That's your job. But Mama, do what I say, Thomas. She used his full name, the one she saved for serious moments. Please. Tommy's jaw worked. Then he nodded, herded Sarah and the younger children into the back room. Mary loaded rifles with practiced efficiency. I ain't running either. Didn't think you would. Grace checked her own rifle. How many shots you got? Enough to make them regret coming. The hoofbeats grew louder. Grace moved to the window. 6 riders, like Ezra said. Mordecai leading, face purple with rage. 2 men with bandages, the ones from the ambush. 3 new ones, harder looking. They stopped in the yard. Mordecai dismounted, slow, deliberate, making a show of it. Caleb Stone, he shouted. You shot my men, stole my cattle. Your cattle, Ezra called from the window. That's rich. I'm talking to Stone, not his half-breed help. Ezra's hands tightened on his rifle. Grace touched his arm. Don't. I'm here, Mordecai. Caleb's voice came weak but steady from the bed. Grace wanted to scream at him to stay quiet, but knew it wouldn't matter. Come out here and face me like a man, Mordecai demanded. Can't do that. Why not you, Yellow? I'm shot, thanks to you. Caleb coughed. Grace winced at the wet sound. But my friends ain't shot, and they're well armed. You want to try your luck? Mordecai laughed. You think 3 people can hold off 6? Did yesterday. Yesterday I wasn't prepared. Today I am. Mordecai gestured. One of his men pulled something from his saddlebag. A torch. Another one lit it. Grace's blood went cold. He's going to burn us out. Not if I shoot him first, Mary said, raising her rifle. No. Grace grabbed the barrel, pushed it down. That's murder. They'll hang us. Better hanged than burned. There's another way. Grace set down her rifle, moved toward the door. Grace, don't. Caleb tried to rise. Ezra held him down. I'm ending this. Grace unbarred the door, stepped onto the porch. The men went quiet. Mordecai's smile was ugly. Well, well. The widow herself. Leave them alone. Grace's voice didn't shake. This is between you and me. Is it now? Mordecai stepped closer. You think you can negotiate? You got nothing I want. I have information. That stopped him. What kind of information? About Prudence. About where she went. Mordecai's face changed. What are you talking about? She came to see me 3 days ago, told me everything. About the forged papers, about your debts, about the other woman in Cheyenne you've been keeping. The yard went silent. One of Mordecai's men shifted in his saddle. That's a lie, Mordecai said, but his voice wavered. Is it? Ask your men. Ask Jacob. They know about Sarah Rose, the saloon girl you've been sending money to. Grace was gambling now, building on fragments of town gossip Mary had mentioned. How much have you spent on her hundreds while Prudence starves at home? Shut your mouth. Prudence left you, Mordecai, took the money from your safe and left. She's filing for divorce in Cheyenne right now. Mordecai's face went from red to white. No. Yes. And when the judge hears about the forged papers, the auction, the attempted murder of Caleb Stone, you'll lose everything. The store, your reputation, your freedom. Grace stepped to the edge of the porch. Or you can leave, now, ride away and never come back. Let us live in peace. You think I'm scared of some judge? I think you're scared of losing control. Grace's voice softened. I think you're scared Prudence leaving proves what you've always feared, that you're nothing without someone to hurt. Mordecai's hand went to his gun. Grace didn't flinch. Shoot me, and they'll hang you for murder, she said. Every person in this cabin is a witness, and Rebecca Thornton will make sure you swing. Behind her, she heard the door crack open. Felt Caleb's presence, wounded but standing. Felt Tommy beside him. Mary and Ezra. Even Sarah, small and fierce. They stood together. A family. Not by blood, but by choice. Mordecai looked at them. At Grace, unafraid. At his own men, uncertain now. At the torch still burning. "This ain't over," he said finally. "Yes, it is." Grace's voice rang clear. "It's over because I'm making it over. You have no power here anymore, Mordecai. None. So right away while you still can." For a long moment nobody moved. Then Jacob spoke up. "Pa, let's go. Please." Mordecai turned on his son. "We're not done." "Yes, we are." Jacob's voice was quiet but firm. "I'm done. With all of it. The lies. The anger. I'm done." He turned his horse. Rode off. One by one, the other men followed. Until only Mordecai remained, torch in hand, face twisted with impotent rage. "I'll ruin you," he spat at Grace. "All of you." "You already tried," Grace said, "and you failed." Mordecai threw the torch. It landed in the dirt, hissing. Then he spurred his horse and galloped away. Grace's knees gave out. She sat hard on the porch steps. Caleb lowered himself beside her, breathing heavy. "That was the bravest damn thing I've ever seen," he said. "That was the stupidest thing I've ever done." Grace's hands shook now, adrenaline crashing. "I gambled everything on gossip and guesses. But you won. This time." She looked at him. "What about next time?" "There won't be a next time." Caleb took her hand. "He's broken now. You broke him. With words, not bullets. That's a victory that'll last." Grace wanted to believe him, but her heart still raced, her stomach still churned. Mary brought water. "Drink, both of you." They drank. The children emerged slowly, uncertain. Tommy came to Grace, wrapped his arms around her. She held him tight. "I thought he was going to shoot you," Tommy whispered. "So did I." "But you didn't run." "No." Grace pulled back, looked at her son. "Because some things are worth standing for. This family is worth standing for." Tommy's eyes shone. "I want to be brave like you." "You already are, baby. You already are." The days after Mordecai's departure felt strange, suspended, like waiting for thunder that never came. Caleb healed slowly, too slowly for his liking. He tried to work the second day and nearly passed out. Grace found him in the barn, gray-faced and shaking. "Inside, now." "I'm fine." "You're bleeding through your bandage." She grabbed his good arm, hauled him toward the cabin. "You're going to lie down and rest if I have to tie you to the bed." "You threatening me, Mrs. Hartwell?" "Yes." Caleb's mouth twitched. "All right then." She got him settled, changed the bandage. The wound was healing, but infection threatened at the edges. Grace cleaned it with whiskey, ignoring Caleb's hiss of pain. "You're meaner than any army doctor I had," he said. "Good. Maybe you'll listen to me." She wrapped fresh cloth around his shoulder. "You're no use to anyone dead, Caleb." "I know. Do you? Because you keep trying to prove otherwise?" He caught her hand. "Grace, look at me." She did. His gray eyes were serious, intent. "I'm not trying to die," he said quietly. "I'm trying to live. For the first time in 7 years, I'm trying to live. And that means working, providing, being useful." "You are useful. You're—" Grace stopped, swallowed hard. "You're everything." Caleb's grip tightened. "Say that again." "You're everything. To me. To the children. To this whole place." Tears threatened. She blinked them back. "So stop trying to be a hero and just be here. That's all I need." He pulled her down, kissed her forehead, gentle, reverent. "I'm here. I promise." That night, Grace lay awake in her borrowed bed, listening to Caleb breathe in the main room. Tommy had taken over the watch, insisting he could handle it. Grace had agreed, seeing the need in his eyes to protect, to be a man. She must have dozed because she woke to voices. Low. Urgent. Grace grabbed her shawl, crept out. Tommy stood by the window with Ezra. Both tense. "What is it?" "Fire." Ezra pointed. "North Ridge. Big one." Grace's stomach dropped. "Mordecai." Maybe. Or just lightning. Hard to say. Ezra grabbed his coat. I'm going to check it out. I'll come with you, Tommy said. No. Grace's voice came sharp. You stay here. But Mama... No. She looked at Ezra. How bad? If it spreads to the dry grass, it'll take out half the ranch. Maybe the whole thing. Grace thought fast. Wake everyone. We need to dig fire breaks. Now. The next hours blurred into smoke and exhaustion. They worked by moonlight and instinct, digging trenches in the dirt, beating back flames with wet blankets. Even Sarah helped, small hands blistered but determined. Caleb tried to join them. Grace ordered him back to bed. He argued. She won. By dawn the fire was out. The north ridge was charred black, but the cabin stood. The barn stood. They'd saved it. Grace collapsed on the porch face, streaked with ash. Mary dropped beside her, coughing. Tommy sat on the steps, hands raw. You think it was Mordecai? Mary asked. I think it doesn't matter, Grace said. We survived. That's what matters. Ezra approached, face grim. Found boot prints near where the fire started. Fresh. Someone set this deliberately. Grace closed her eyes. Of course they did. We should report it. Get the law. The law won't help. You know that. Grace stood, every muscle screaming. We need to end this. Permanently. How? Tommy asked. Grace looked at her son. At Mary. At Ezra. At the cabin where Caleb was recuperating. At her younger children sleeping through the crisis because Grace had sent them to the root cellar for safety. I'm going to town, she said. And I'm going to make Mordecai an offer he can't refuse. Grace, that's crazy, Mary started. Probably. But I'm done waiting for him to strike. I'm going on the offensive. She went inside, washed the ash from her face, changed into her cleanest dress. When she emerged, Caleb was standing by the door, fully dressed, despite his pallor. I'm coming with you, he said. No. Not arguing. You go, I go. His voice left no room for debate. Grace wanted to fight, wanted to protect him. But she saw the set of his jaw and knew it was pointless. Fine. But you sit in the wagon and don't move. Yes, ma'am. They rode into Laramie at midday. The town went quiet when they arrived, people stopping to stare. Grace Hartwell, who'd been sold at auction, riding in beside Caleb Stone, the man who'd bought her. But this time, Grace's back was straight. Her chin was up. She wasn't merchandise anymore. She was a woman with a purpose. They found Mordecai at his store as expected. He looked up when they entered, face going splotchy. Get out, he said. No. Grace walked to the counter. We're going to talk. Like civilized people. Got nothing to say to you? Then listen. Grace planted her hands on the counter. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sell me this store. Mordecai laughed. Like hell. You're going to sell it to me for $1. And in exchange, I won't tell everyone in this town about Sarah Rose. About the forged papers. About how you set fire to Caleb's ranch last night. The color drained from Mordecai's face. I didn't. Boot prints, Mordecai, size 11. Same boots you're wearing right now. Grace leaned forward. You tried to burn us out. That's attempted murder. The territorial judge won't like that. Neither will your neighbors when they realize you're willing to torch property over a grudge. You can't prove anything. Can't I? Grace pulled a folded paper from her pocket. Rebecca Thornton helped me draft this. It's a statement, signed by 3 witnesses who saw you near the ridge last night. It was a bluff. Complete fabrication. But Mordecai didn't know that. He looked at the paper, at Grace, at Caleb standing silent but solid behind her. Why the store? He asked finally. Because Prudence will need it. When she comes back, and she will come back once you're gone, she'll need a way to support herself. Grace straightened. You sign this store over to me, I'll hold it in trust for her. You get to leave town with your reputation mostly intact, and we all get to live in peace. And if I refuse, then I show this paper to the judge, and to the territorial marshal, and to every rancher within 50 miles. You'll be lucky if they only run you out of town. Grace's voice hardened. Or you could have an accident. Fire's unpredictable after all. Never know when a spark might land somewhere. Unfortunate. It was a threat, clear and cold. Grace saw Caleb stiffen behind her, surprised, but she didn't take it back. She'd learned something these past weeks. Sometimes mercy looked like letting someone walk away. Sometimes it looked like making them. Mordecai's hands shook as he reached for a pen. I hate you. I don't care. Grace pushed the transfer papers across the counter. Sign. He signed. Every line, every clause. When he finished, Grace took the papers, folded them carefully. You have until sundown to clear out, she said. After that, if I see you in Laramie or anywhere near Stone Creek, all deals are off. Mordecai looked at her with something like fear. You're not who I thought you were. No, Grace agreed. I'm not. I'm stronger. They left him there, standing in his empty store. Outside, Caleb stopped her. Grace, what you just did was necessary, was dangerous. If he'd called your bluff, he didn't. Grace climbed into the wagon. And now it's over. Really over. Caleb studied her face. You've changed. Yes. You threatened to kill a man. No. I threatened to let fire do what fire does. She met his eyes. Don't pretend you wouldn't do the same. I would. But I'm a man who's killed before. What a woman, a mother. Grace's laugh was bitter. I'm whatever I need to be to protect my family, and if that makes me hard, so be it. Caleb climbed up beside her. Doesn't make you hard, makes you a survivor. They rode in silence. Then Caleb said, I'm proud of you. Grace's throat tightened. Why? Because you did what needed doing, without flinching, without apologizing. He took her hand. That takes strength most people never find. I'm tired of being weak. You were never weak, just outmatched. He squeezed her fingers. Now you're not. When they reached Stone Creek, the children ran to meet them. Tommy first, then Sarah, then Benny and Maggie, with Lily toddling behind. Did you see him? Tommy asked. We did. Is it over? Grace looked at her children, at Caleb beside her, at Mary and Ezra emerging from the barn, at the cabin scarred but standing. Yes, she said. It's over. That night they celebrated. Mary cooked a feast, chicken potatoes, the last of the preserved peaches. They ate until they couldn't move, laughing at Benny's stories and Sarah's shy jokes. After the children went to bed, Grace and Caleb sat on the porch. The stars wheeled overhead, infinite and cold, but the space between them was warm. What happens now? Grace asked. Now we live. Caleb's voice was simple, sure. We work the ranch, raise the children, get through winter. He paused. And maybe, if you're willing, we get married proper. Make this official. Grace's heart stuttered. Are you asking? I'm asking. He turned to face her. Grace Eleanor Hartwell, will you marry me? Not because I bought you, not because you need protection, but because I love you, and I think maybe you love me too. Grace's eyes burned. I do love you. Is that a yes? That's a yes. Caleb kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. And Grace kissed him back, tasting smoke and hope, and the future they'd choose together. When they pulled apart, Caleb rested his forehead against hers. Tomorrow I'm riding to see the preacher. Tomorrow you're resting, your shoulder. Tomorrow I'm riding to see the preacher. he repeated firmly. Because I'm not waiting anymore. 7 years I waited. I'm done waiting. Grace laughed through tears. All right. Tomorrow. And Grace? Yes. Thank you. For choosing me. For choosing this life. For being brave when I couldn't be. You're always brave. Not like you. He traced her jaw. You faced Mordecai without a gun. You threatened him with words and will. That's a courage I'll never have. Then it's good we have each other. Grace kissed him again. Your courage and mine. Together. They sat under the stars planning their future. A wedding under the oak tree. A expansion to the cabin. More cattle come spring. Maybe another child someday, if God was willing. And Grace thought, this is what redemption looks like. Not erasing the past, not forgetting pain, but choosing joy despite it. Building something new from broken pieces. She'd been sold at auction, stripped of dignity, reduced to merchandise. But she'd stood back up, fought back, won, and now she was getting married. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. That was freedom. That was love. That was enough. The morning Caleb was supposed to ride to town for the preacher, Prudence arrived instead. Grace was hanging laundry when she heard the wagon. Her hands stilled on the wet sheet, heart jumping. But it was just Prudence alone driving a wagon loaded with trunks and boxes. She looked different, thinner, older, but her eyes were clear. Grace set down the laundry, walked to meet her. Prudence. Grace. Prudence climbed down, hands shaking. I heard what you did. With the store. News travels fast. Mordecai left town yesterday. Took the train east. Said he's never coming back. Prudence's voice cracked. Is it true about the store? It's yours. Soon as we file the papers. Grace studied her. Where have you been? Cheyenne. Stayed with Rebecca Thornton. She helped me file for divorce. Helped me understand. Prudence stopped, swallowed hard. Helped me understand I didn't have to live like that anymore. No, you didn't. They stood in awkward silence. Then Prudence said, I came to say thank you, and I'm sorry, for everything. You already apologized. Words aren't enough, so I brought these. Prudence gestured to the wagon. Mordecai's things. Things he can't take on the train. Furniture, supplies, tools. I thought you might need them. For the wedding. Grace's throat tightened. How did you know? Mary told me. I saw her in town yesterday. Prudence smiled slightly. She said you're getting married under the oak tree. That it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be simple. Simple can be beautiful. Prudence hesitated. I know I have no right to ask, but could I come to the wedding? Grace wanted to say no, wanted to hold on to the anger, the hurt. But she looked at Prudence's face, saw the hope there, fragile and desperate. Yes, Grace said. You can come. Prudence's eyes filled. Thank you. They unloaded the wagon together. Chairs, a table, bolts of fabric. Even a mirror, things Grace had never owned, could never afford. Prudence worked silently, efficiently, like she was atoning. When they finished, she climbed back into the wagon. Grace, I'm going to make the store work. Make it something good. Something Mordecai never could. I believe you will. And maybe someday you can forgive me. Not today, but someday. Grace considered. Maybe someday. Prudence nodded. Drove away. Caleb appeared from the barn. That was unexpected. Everything about this life is unexpected. Grace leaned against him. But I'm learning to expect it. The wedding was set for Sunday. 3 days to prepare. Grace threw herself into the work, grateful for distraction. Mary sewed a dress from the fabric Prudence brought, simple white cotton, but clean and new. Sarah picked wildflowers. Tommy and Ezra built benches from scrap wood. Benny appointed himself in charge of Blue grooming the dog until he gleamed. Maggie asked if she could carry flowers. Grace said yes. Lily practiced clapping, convinced it was her primary job. Caleb disappeared for hours on Saturday. When Grace asked where, he just smiled. "You'll see." That night, Grace couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about tomorrow. About becoming Mrs. Caleb Stone. About promising forever to a man she'd known for barely a month. It should have terrified her. Instead, it felt right. A soft knock on the door. "Grace?" "You awake?" Sarah's voice. Grace sat up. "Come in, sweetheart." Sarah slipped inside, journal clutched to her chest. She sat on the edge of the bed, unusually hesitant. "What is it?" Grace asked. "I wrote something. For the wedding. I wanted to ask if I could read it." "Of course you can. It's about you and Mr. Caleb. About us." Sarah's voice dropped. "About how we were broken and now we're not." Grace pulled her daughter close. "We're still a little broken baby, but we're healing." "That's what I wrote about, the healing part." Sarah opened her journal, showed Grace a page. The handwriting was careful, beautiful. "Can I read it at the ceremony before you say the vows?" Grace read the first lines, tears blurring her vision. "Yes. Oh yes, Sarah. It's perfect." They sat together in the darkness, Grace holding her daughter, both of them crying quietly. Happy tears this time. Healing tears. Sunday dawned clear and cold. Grace woke to Mary and Sarah helping her into the white dress. It fit perfectly, falling to her ankles, simple but elegant. "You look beautiful, Mama," Sarah whispered. Grace looked in the mirror Prudence had brought. Saw a woman she barely recognized, stronger, older, but whole. Mary braided her hair, wove wildflowers through it. "Caleb's going to forget how to breathe when he sees you." "He better not. I need him conscious for the vows." They laughed. It felt good laughing on her wedding day. The children dressed in their best, which wasn't much but clean. Tommy wore a shirt Ezra had loaned him, too big in the shoulders, but he wore it proud. Sarah had a yellow ribbon in her hair. Benny's face was scrubbed pink. Maggie wore her only dress, mended carefully. Lily had a bow that kept falling off, which delighted her endlessly. They walked to the oak tree together. The whole ranch gathered there. Ezra, Mary, the ranch hands. Grace barely knew, but who'd fought for them anyway. And Prudence, standing at the back, face wet with tears. Caleb stood beneath the tree beside the preacher. He wore his best clothes, dark pants, white shirt, vest. His hair was combed, beard trimmed. He looked nervous. When he saw Grace, he went very still. His eyes widened, his mouth parted. Mary had been right. He'd forgotten to breathe. Grace walked toward him, children following. Tommy gave her away. Grace had insisted. He stood tall, shoulders back, pride written in every line of his body. "Who gives this woman?" the preacher asked. "I do," Tommy said, then added, "and my sisters and brother? We all do." Grace's throat closed. She squeezed Tommy's hand. He stepped back, joining his siblings. Caleb took Grace's hands. His palms were sweaty. She'd never seen him nervous before. "You're shaking," she whispered. "Terrified," he admitted. "Of me. Of losing this. Of waking up and finding it was all a dream." "It's real. I'm real." She squeezed his hands. "I'm here." The preacher cleared his throat. "Before we begin, the bride's daughter has something to share." Sarah stepped forward, journal open. Her voice shook at first, then steadied. "This is a story about being broken," she read. "About a mama who stood on an auction block and didn't bow. About children who were scared but didn't run. About a cowboy who was lonely but opened his door anyway. This is a story about choosing. About deciding that family isn't just blood, it's promise. It's showing up. It's staying when things get hard. This is a story about healing, not the kind that happens fast, the kind that happens slow in small moments, in shared meals, in laughter after tears, in hands held in the darkness. This is a story about love, the real kind, the kind that isn't pretty or easy, the kind that fights, that stands, that says, "I choose you every single day." This is our story, and it's just beginning. Sarah closed the journal. Silence held for a moment. Then Caleb spoke, voice rough. "That was perfect, Sarah. Thank you." Sarah nodded, stepped back. Grace blinked away tears. The preacher smiled. "Well, I don't know that I can improve on that, but let's try." He opened his Bible. "Dearly beloved." The ceremony was simple. Traditional vows spoken with trembling voices. Caleb promised to love and cherish. Grace promised to honor and keep. They both promised to choose each other every day for as long as they lived. When the preacher said, "You may kiss your bride," Caleb cupped Grace's face gently, kissed her soft and sweet, like she was precious. The small gathering cheered. Lily clapped. Benny whooped. Even Prudence smiled through tears. They were married. Grace Eleanor Hartwell was now Grace Eleanor Stone. The celebration lasted all afternoon. Mary had cooked a feast. The ranch hands played fiddles. People danced in the grass, laughing and free. Grace danced with Caleb, his hand on her waist, hers on his shoulder. They moved slowly, not quite in rhythm with the music, but together. "I have something for you," Caleb said. "You already gave me everything." Not quite. He led her away from the crowd toward the barn. Inside, he'd built something, a room attached to the side with a real door and a window. "It's not much," he said. "But I thought you'd want your own space, for medicine, for helping people." Grace stared. A table, shelves, jars already organized, a clean cot for patients. "You built me a medical office. Mary said you used to help folks in Philadelphia. Your father was a doctor." Caleb looked uncertain. "I thought maybe you'd want to do that here. Help the community. Be more than just a rancher's wife." Grace couldn't speak, just threw her arms around him, held tight. "I take it you like it?" he asked. "I love it. I love you." "Good, because you're stuck with me now." They kissed again, longer this time, deeper, until someone coughed behind them. Tommy stood in the doorway, face red. "Sorry, but, someone's here to see you." Grace and Caleb followed him outside. A woman stood in the yard, travel-worn and tired. She carried a small bag, wore a faded dress. "Can I help you?" Grace asked. The woman looked at her with familiar eyes, gray eyes, like winter sky. "I'm looking for Caleb Stone," she said. "I'm his sister, Anna." The yard went silent. Caleb went rigid beside Grace. "Anna." His voice was barely audible. "But I thought you were dead." "I know. I let you think that." Anna's face crumpled. "I'm sorry, Caleb. I'm so sorry." Grace looked between them. "You have a sister." "Had." "I thought—" Caleb shook his head, stunned. "The letter said you died in St. Louis. Cholera outbreak 5 years ago." "That was a lie. I wrote it because—" Anna stopped, breathed deep. "Because I was ashamed. I'd made mistakes. Bad ones. Thought you'd be better off thinking I was gone than knowing the truth." "What truth?" Caleb's voice hardened. "What did you do?" "I married a man you told me not to marry. Had his child. He left us both. I was desperate, broke, alone." Anna's tears fell freely now. "I did things I'm not proud of to survive. Things I thought you'd never forgive." Caleb stood frozen. Grace touched his arm gently. "Caleb." He didn't respond, just stared at his sister like she was a ghost. Anna took a step forward. I heard about your wife. About Daniel. I wanted to come then, but I was too ashamed. Too afraid. She gestured to her bag. But when I heard you'd gotten married again, I thought maybe it was time. To come home. To ask forgiveness. You let me think you were dead, Caleb said, voice breaking. For 5 years. I mourned you. He stopped, jaw working. Where's your child? With me. Anna turned, beckoned. A boy emerged from behind the wagon. Maybe 8 years old, thin and wary. This is Michael, your nephew. The boy stared at Caleb with wide eyes. Caleb stared back. Grace's heart ached watching them. A family broken by shame and silence standing in her yard on her wedding day. She made a choice. Anna, Grace said. You and Michael must be exhausted. Come inside. We'll get you fed, rested. Then we can talk. Anna's eyes widened. You'd let us stay. After your family. Grace looked at Caleb. Aren't they? Caleb's face worked. Anger and grief and hope warring. Finally, he nodded. Yeah, they're family. Anna burst into tears. Michael clutched her skirt, uncertain. Grace took charge, leading them inside, getting them settled. Mary brought food. The children stared, curious. Tommy whispered questions Grace didn't answer yet. That night, after everyone else slept, Grace found Caleb on the hill behind the barn. He stood before the 2 crosses, head bowed. You're angry, Grace said softly. I'm confused. He didn't turn. She let me think she was dead. That's unforgivable. Isn't it? Grace moved to stand beside him. I don't know. But I know something about shame. About doing things you regret. About running from family because you think you're not worthy of them. That's different. Is it? She touched his hand. Caleb, you bought me at an auction because you were lonely. Anna lied because she was ashamed. Both of you were trying to survive pain. The methods were different, but the reason was the same. Caleb was quiet for a long time. Then, I don't know if I can forgive her. You don't have to decide tonight. But that boy Michael, he needs family. He needs an uncle who's strong and kind and knows what it's like to hurt. He needs a father. Maybe you could be that. Someday. Grace leaned against him. You're so good with my children. Why not one more? Because he's not yours. He's... Caleb stopped, laughed bitterly. He's blood, and blood should matter. But it doesn't feel like it matters as much as Tommy teaching me to laugh again. Or Sarah reading to me. Or Benny following me around like I'm some kind of hero. Blood doesn't make family, Grace said. Choice does. You taught me that. Caleb turned to her. When did you get so wise? When I married a man who showed me what strength really looks like. He kissed her then under the stars beside the graves of his first family, and Grace felt the past and present weaving together, broken threads becoming whole. The next morning, Caleb talked to Anna. Really talked. Grace gave them privacy, kept the children occupied. When they emerged hours later, both had red eyes. But Anna was smiling. And Caleb's shoulders were lighter. She's staying, Caleb told Grace. Her and Michael. There's room in the loft. She can help with the ranch with the children, earn her keep. She doesn't have to earn anything, Grace said. I know, but she wants to. Says she's done running. Caleb pulled Grace close. Thank you. For pushing me. For being kinder than I deserved. You deserve kindness. You just forget sometimes. Anna approached them, Michael hiding behind her. Grace, I don't know how to thank you. For giving me a chance. Thank me by being here, by being honest, by helping us build this family. Anna nodded. I can do that. Michael peeked out. Are there really horses? Benny appeared from nowhere. There's 2, named after generals, want to see. Michael looked at his mother. Anna nodded. The boys ran off together, Benny chattering a mile a minute. Grace watched them go. Your family's getting bigger. Our family, Caleb corrected. It's our family now. The weeks after the wedding settled into new rhythms. Anna proved herself hardworking, quiet, grateful. She helped Grace in the medical office, learning herbs and remedies. She cooked with Mary, mended with Sarah, even learned to shoot from Ezra. Michael and Benny became inseparable. Tommy took Michael under his wing, teaching him ranch work. Maggie adopted Anna as a second mother figure. Even Lily warmed to them, toddling after Michael with determined steps. Grace's medical office thrived. Word spread the new Mrs. Stone could set bones, treat fever, deliver babies. People came from miles around. Some paid in cash, most paid in goods. Chickens, flour, vegetables. Grace accepted it all. One afternoon, a knock came at the office door. Grace looked up from grinding herbs to see Prudence. "I need help," Prudence said. Grace set down her pestle. "What kind of help?" "The store's doing well. Too well. I can't manage it alone." Prudence twisted her hands. "I was hoping maybe Sarah could help after school. I'd pay her fair wages." Grace's first instinct was to refuse, but she saw the hope in Prudence's eyes. And she thought about Sarah, who loved books and numbers and organizing. "Ask her yourself," Grace said. "It's her choice." Sarah said yes, started working 3 afternoons a week, came home with stories about customers, about inventory, about Prudence teaching her accounting. Tommy asked Caleb to teach him cattle ranching proper. Caleb said yes, started taking him on longer rides, teaching him the business. Benny declared he wanted to be a veterinarian. Grace helped him care for barn cats, injured birds, anything that needed tending. Maggie came out of her shell, slowly started singing while she worked. Her voice was beautiful, clear and high. Lily took her first real steps. Walked straight to Caleb, fell into his arms. He caught her laughing, and Grace's heart swelled so big she thought it might burst. Winter came hard. Snow piled high. The wind howled like Mary had warned. But the cabin was warm. They gathered around the fire at night. Grace and Caleb, the 5 children, Anna and Michael, sometimes Mary and Ezra. They told stories, played games. Sarah read aloud from books Prudence lent them. Caleb carved animals for the younger children. Tommy learned guitar from one of the ranch hands, played badly, but enthusiastically. Grace watched them all, her chosen family, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. One night she and Caleb lay in their bed, the room they'd built onto the cabin, private and warm. Snow fell outside, muffling sound. "You're smiling," Caleb observed. "I'm happy." "Because of the snow. Because of everything." Grace turned to face him. "A year ago I was being sold at auction. 6 months ago I didn't know if we'd survive Mordecai. And now I'm lying here in our home with our family safe and warm, and I'm happy." "Our family," Caleb repeated, testing the words. "Still getting used to that." "Me too." Grace traced the scar on his face. "Do you ever regret it? Buying us that day?" "Never, not once." He caught her hand, kissed her palm. "You saved me, Grace. You and the children. I was dying here alone. You brought me back to life. We saved each other." "Yeah, we did." They fell asleep, tangled together, snow falling soft outside the future, uncertain but theirs. Spring returned. The snow melted. The creek swelled. Calves were born. The ranch thrived. Grace's medical practice expanded. She started training Anna, teaching her everything her father had taught her. Anna learned fast, had a gentle touch with patience. One morning a wagon arrived. Rebecca Thornton stepped down smiling. "Mrs. Stone," she greeted, "I have news. Good news, I hope." The territorial legislature is considering a bill giving women property rights, allowing them to own businesses, to divorce without cause, to keep custody of their children. Rebecca's eyes shone. "It's because of women like you, women who stood up, who demanded better." Grace's throat tightened. "I didn't do anything special. You survived. You thrived. You showed everyone that women aren't property." Rebecca took her hand. You're a hero to a lot of people, Grace, whether you know it or not. After Rebecca left, Grace stood in the yard looking at her life. The cabin expanded now, the barn full of animals, the fields green with crops, the children playing in the grass. Caleb emerged from the barn, saw her standing there. "What are you thinking?" "That I'm grateful," Grace said, "for all of it, even the hard parts, because they brought me here. To Wyoming. To you." He walked to her, pulled her close. They stood together watching their children play, their family grow, their life unfold. "Grace," Caleb said after a while, I want to adopt them, legally. Tommy, Sarah, Benny, Maggie, Lily. I want to be their father, not just in practice, but in law." Grace pulled back, looked at him. "You mean that I've never meant anything more?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. Yes, they'd love that. I'd love that." They filed the papers the next week. The judge, a different judge, one who believed in justice, signed them without hesitation. Tommy broke down when Caleb told him. You mean I'm really yours legally?" "You were always really mine," Caleb said. "This just makes it official." Sarah hugged them both, tears streaming. Benny whooped and hollered. Maggie asked if she could call Caleb Papa now. He said yes, voice breaking. Even Lily seemed to understand, clapping her hands and shouting, "Papa! Papa!" until Caleb swept her up, holding her tight. Grace watched her family blood, and chosen broken, and healed hers, and his, and theirs, and knew she'd found what she'd been searching for all along. Home. Years passed. The children grew. Tommy became a rancher, took over more of the operation. Sarah opened a bookstore in town, partnered with Prudence. Benny went to veterinary school in Denver, came back to serve the territory. Maggie became a teacher. Lily, the youngest, grew up fearless and fierce, determined to be the first female rancher in Wyoming. Michael became Caleb's apprentice, learned everything about cattle and land and leadership. Anna remarried a good man, this time a widower with kind eyes. They built a house on the edge of Stone Creek property, stayed close. Prudence thrived. Built the store into the most successful business in Laramie. Never remarried. Said once was enough. Mary and Ezra grew old together, not married but devoted. When Mary died at 75, Ezra followed within the month. They were buried side by side on the ranch they'd helped build. Caleb's hair went fully gray. His limp worsened. But his eyes stayed sharp. His love stayed steady. Grace's hands grew weathered from medicine and work. Her face lined with age. But her back stayed straight, her spirit unbroken. On their 20th anniversary, they climbed the hill behind the barn. The oak tree was bigger now, roots deep and strong. The two crosses still stood weathered but tended. "I talk to them sometimes," Caleb admitted. "Catherine and Daniel. Tell them about you, about the children, about the life we've built." "What do you think they'd say?" "I think Catherine would like you. Would be grateful someone loved me when she couldn't anymore." Caleb's voice was soft. "And Daniel, I think he'd be proud of his brothers and sisters, even if they're not his by blood." Grace leaned against him. "I talk to James sometimes too. Tell him the children are safe, that we made it. We did make it, didn't we?" "We did." Grace looked at the ranch spread below them, at the cabin huge now with additions, at the barns and fences and fields, at the tiny figures of their grandchildren playing in the yard. "We made it, and we built something that'll last." "Something worth remembering," Caleb agreed. They stood together as the sun set, painting the sky gold and pink and purple. Two people who'd been broken, who'd found each other at the worst moment, who'd chosen each other every day since. Grace thought about that day at the auction. Standing on the platform, terrified and humiliated, thinking her life was over. She'd been wrong. Her life hadn't ended that day. It had begun. And what a life it had been. Full of struggle and triumph, heartbreak and joy, failure and success. Full of love, the real kind, the hard kind, the kind that showed up every single day. Grace took Caleb's hand. He squeezed back. And she knew bone deep and certain that if she had to do it all again, the auction, the fear, the fighting, all of it, she would. Because it had led her here, to this man, to this family, to this life. And that was worth everything.